if the WWE was firing on every cylinder they could be, there would be people that would be just as happy to make a living there and stay there as go off and make movies or do whatever else. But I think they're not maximizing their earning potential on all these people because of that attitude. It's though we've seen the WWE cut off their nose to spite their face a lot of times,
countless times, right?
and Sasha Banks is one recent example of somebody that was like, well, I don't need you either. So she goes and she does her own thing. She's working matches that she wants to work. She's getting to work Japan, which she always wanted to do. She's on The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. Paycheck from Disney doesn't hurt. Like she's gonna be all right. And so is the WWE. But at the same time, maybe if you didn't frustrate Sasha Banks so much that she walked out, you'd be like, hey, maybe Mandalorian fans want to come and check out our product. Maybe Star Wars fans like to see some WWE now because we got one of their characters on our show, and vice versa. But they get spiteful, they get indignant, they get mad when somebody tries to get big or do their own thing. They'll kiss a John Cena's ass and let him do whatever he wants and still bring him in and let him do whatever he wants. But for some reason, it's a problem with other people to have like a little Twitch channel and make a little extra money. So it's, there's always that the levels of pettiness, just can't be, they can't be underestimated there. But wrestling's always been a position where you've had talented guys that may not be the top guys, but they may be better than the top guys, but that's not their spot in that promotion. So if you lost every top guy you had, all these talented guys could become top guys and, maybe even do better business. It's always been like that. And I think the WWE is just missing out with a lot of, corporate greed and just pettiness.
What do you think about the whole joint venture now with Endeavor, UFC, and WWE?
I have no idea what to think. I really don't, because I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen or what's going to go on. I don't think Endeavor knows what they bought. I don't think WWE knows what's coming for them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to get blindsided by this while people figure things out. While, they lay all the cards on the table and like, okay, what do we got here? Like, what do we actually got here? And I'm hearing things about lots of layoffs already. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of redundant positions and things like that. I can't even pretend to give you an educated position. So I'll just be honest and tell you that I don't know. And I can also quite assuredly tell you that nobody else knows either. No one.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon does not know what just happened to him. He doesn't know. He thinks he knows, and he's going to go out and say what he thinks or what he's supposed to say. But he doesn't know what just happened.
Yeah, like I want to see where it's going to land in about like a year or two's time, when Ari Emanuel's like putting the pressure on Vince McMahon, like as if they're not getting the result or the return. You know what I mean? Like something's got to happen, and it usually comes down to the CEO of an organization. You know what I mean? You're the head of the snake. It's not performing. Time to put a new head on this snake.
Right. And don't you think, like, I said this, and some people are like a little incredulous, but just if you really just think about it, we're now at a point that we've never been at where the WWE could just go away. Like if they decide, and I'm not saying it's a likely possibility. I'm not even saying it's likely. However, it's a more than 0% probability that one day they could look at the WWE as an asset that's not worth keeping on the books and just close it. Like, we're done with this. We don't need this. It's over. You know what I mean? And either sell it to somebody else or just close it entirely. Try to get some money back, whatever the case, because that happens. It happened to WCW. And even though WCW isn't as big as WWE is now, also you have to think of like the inflated figures, that they're cooking these books trying to say that the WWE is worth this much. And I'm sure that Endeavor paid more than what it's really worth to get the WWE. So,
well, I mean, like Endeavor weren't the only bidders as well. Like there was like rumor has it like Disney was in it, the Saudis were in it. The fact that they own the UFC now as well, and the UFC and WWE and like Endeavor, like, man, Ari Emanuel is a very, very highly intelligent individual, man. Like, he is like been around for many, many years. I think he knows what he's got there, and I think like the tape library alone would keep them in the keep him in the green for many years to come.
It's possible, but you also look at the WWE tried to monetize that very library, and then they end up selling the network, right? So what is this selling? Like, if you have the WWE network, you created the WWE network so that you have your library in a digital format that you can give to the people for a subscription price. Okay, well, that was never panning out like monetarily the way they expected, because that changed the whole payoff system for things like live events, like pay-per-view things. WrestleMania is included in my subscription. I don't know, I no longer have to pay $60-$70 to watch WrestleMania. So how much money are we losing with that? How much money are the guys losing on payoffs or whatever?
Yeah.
They do all that, and then they take that and they just sell it. Here you go, Comcast. Have all of our stuff. Like, have the rights. It's the streaming rights, of course. They don't actually own the library. But, for that chunk of change, does that not, that tells you right there they weren't able to monetize their own stuff correctly. So now what would Endeavor do with the WWE tape library?
I mean, do you think
are they going to start selling Blu-rays of SummerSlam 91?
Do you think the WWE network wasn't making money? Like, do you think that's what sort of went that way? Because I kind of feel like there's so many wrestling fans in the world that would have like had that tape library just to have it at $10 a month. You know what I mean? For those who had, you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you?
I know that's one of the reasons I had it.
I had it for years, and like even sometimes I'd go months without even watching anything.
Sure. But it was nice to know, right? It was nice to know you had it there.
Have it there if I wanted to watch like ECW or from like 2001 or WCW from 96 to 98.
Yeah, it was great. And I guess it just wasn't like they had to have been making a ton of money on it, but I mean, if they really were, would they have felt the need to sell it? Did they want to sell it just for the optics of saying like, look, we made a big business deal?
Yeah.
And where did they fall? Like, what is their cut of that? Like, if you give them the extreme, if you give Peacock, whatever, the exclusive streaming rights to the WWE library, which that infrastructure is awful. How do you have something for like 6-7 years, and then you move it to another platform, and the technology's worse than it was in 2014 when it launched? Technology's supposed to get better.
But you can't even get the full network. Like we have it on Binge, which is kind of like a fucking service similar to Netflix, right?
Yeah. And
it's like Binge, it hasn't got half the shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But even then, it's like when it went to Peacock, right? It then started getting censored and stuff like that. It was like, we see it now with Binge stuff when Stone Cold was like flipping off people. Or like, people,
and they blur that out when you like no one knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and you just see,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Or like Val Venus, they blur him out when he's got the towel on, and it's just it makes it look worse than what it is. Instead of him wearing a towel, now you're like thinking, wow, this guy's swinging his cock around with nothing, like in front of a crowd.
Yeah, there's been a lot of weird censorship like that, even on the network when they would do, certain things like. I can't even explain why they did some of the things that they did that they censored out of there, but that's how WWE, like, they get to revise history. It may not even be something offensive. It could be like a production mistake. They can go back and like scrub that out. And so like they get to rewrite their own history and everything. But I guess, they closed their like home video business to the point where like, I think they only release like WrestleMania on Blu-ray now. Like, I think that's the only physical media that you can buy. I think so. And, so it's like they think the home video market is not anything to make money off of. they're selling their whole network infrastructure to, you know, they're leasing it out to other companies.
Yeah.
Um, it makes me wonder, like, well, what value is there in that library anymore? I mean, obviously, we as fans see the value of, like, hey, I'd pay you this amount of money if I can do this, and this. But they're going to see the hardcore wrestling fan base as a very, very small market and not worth the money it would take just to keep the thing up and running, the bandwidth alone, you know,
Yeah.
that they'd have to spend to keep that up there. So I can see some company that doesn't have as much of a stake in it, like Endeavor, that's just saying, like, well, what are we going to do with all this? Like, what are you really buying? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whoever buys the WWE, it's like, what are you buying? If you're not going to continue to run the live events, you have no product. So that's where the real money is. It's really taking that live event business, which is what wrestling is, which is what sports are, and trying to monetize that to the best of your ability and make the most money on those. And then you try to make all the rest of it with the streaming and, you know, the buy rates and those things, the
Merchandising
TV,
and all that shit.
yeah, the merchandising, the TV rights, like who's got the broadcasting rights for these things. If they at some point see that it's not enough, you know, they could just say one day, like, who needs the WWE? It could happen. Whereas, you know, the McMahons never would have let that happen.
No.
Yeah, so it's
But
a
I
weird time that we're living in here.